election to influence the conduct of the general elections. On the other hand, NASA principals have told off Jubilee, asking the president to respect the judiciary. Well, Chief Justice David Maraga also has termed the onslaught on the judiciary. So what is the exact point in this matter? Let's listen in first of all to that before we have the discussion.
Sasa wanasema hata makaratasi haina shida, karatasi ya MCA kuchapwa haina shida, karatasi ya mjumbe kuchapwa haina shida, karatasi ya senator kuwekwa haina shida, karatasi ya mama county kufanywa haina shida, karatasi ya governor ifanywe, lakini ya rais haitafanywa. Yani jameni, na wauliza kwa heshima kubwa, kwani wanatufanya sisi ni washenzi namna gani jameni? Mimi nataka niwaambie wenye koti, tumewaheshimu, lakini msifikirie heshima ni uoga. Na sisi hatutakubali wenzetu watumie makoti na kuintimidate IEBC wakifikiria ya kwamba watashinda kupitia mlango ya nyuma. Hakuna kitu kama hicho. I am telling the nation, every single individual in Kenya, including the judges, including the IEBC and the opposition, there is nobody who has not been aware that the election shall be on the 8th of August 2017. And I am saying, Kenyans are ready for that date. You change and mess with that date, we will not accept you denying the people of Kenya their constitutional right to elect their leaders.
All right, so that's what the president had to say over the weekend. And of course, we've heard that also we have Justice Maraga, the Chief Justice, basically terming the president's words as unfortunate. Let me start with you, Edwin Sifuna, on your thoughts on the president's comments over the weekend regarding the judiciary.
Thank you, Mike. First, I have to agree with the Chief Justice who terms those statements very unfortunate. It is not the first time that we have had such sentiments from the president and Jubilee leadership. I remember there was a point when the president, apparently frustrated by lack of progress on the front of fighting corruption in the country, again went on a tirade against the judiciary. And what they seem to be saying is that somehow the opposition is winning too many cases. You see, Mike, the truth of the matter is that when we go to court as the lawyers for the opposition, the courts do not measure the government's actions against the ODM constitution or our manifesto. They measure it against the law of the country, the constitution of Kenya and the laws that are there. So every time that you breach the constitution, it is always going to defeat you. In fact, the way that I view it is not that ODM or the opposition is always winning cases, but that the constitution that we gave unto ourselves in 2010 is always beating back those who try to, subdue it or to subjugate it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Dr. Nyoro, your thoughts? Do you think it was also unfortunate that the president was, as it were, attacking the judiciary?
No, I don't think so. Because if you remember, the Chief Justice earlier on, I think about a couple of days back, had said that they want to try to ensure that nobody interferes with the election on the 8th. The Chief Justice himself had said that. That is long before this judgment was made. I think as an aspirant, and I'm sure my colleague Sifuna here would agree with me, as an aspirant, we all would want to have this election out of our way by the 8th. As the president of this country, he can feel the heartbeat of the country. He can feel what everybody is waiting for. The economy is waiting for the election on 8th. So he is sounding an alarm bell and saying, you guys, you better be careful. Let us have the spirit of the whole country and not just one side. So I think the president is on this. He has the responsibility of saying it. He's not interfering with the judiciary because, like I said, in any case, the Chief Justice had actually interfered with the judiciary because he had said, we are going to make sure that nobody interferes with the election.
Okay, but now don't you view the president's comments, especially viewed as an attack to the judiciary, as one that would erode the confidence of people with the judiciary, which would be unfortunate because this is a body that has been set there to arbitrate. So when they arbitrate, whether the government wins or the opposition wins, then that should be left as that decision. But when he comes in and sounds like he's attacking them, then it erodes people's confidence in the judiciary.
Like I said, I don't think he's attacking them. Do you also agree that the Chief Justice had more or less said the same thing? So if the president was attacking the judiciary, then the judiciary had attacked itself first. I think what we need to do is to look at the sequence of events, reading to where we are now. 28 days to the election. All these events are coming in up to the point where you feel like some people are not ready. I think the president is sounding an alarm bell and saying, let us wake up as Kenyans, whether you are judiciary, executive, or parliament, we have the responsibility, to make sure that we make this country safe and secure. I think.
Okay. I can see Sifuna wants to respond to that. Although, if you go to court and you win a case, then really doesn't mean that you're not ready. It just means you had a valid, a valid issue that you wanted to address, and the court has justified your concern.
But are you also seeing the timing of the events and the amount of time that, because the courts are not just made for one set of things. I think the courts are there to look at everything and look at the spirit of the country, look at where the country is. I think we are just probably looking at whether this is right or this is wrong, but we have a bigger issue on the part of the country. And the president is expressing, as the head of the state, the concerns of everybody and not just attacking the judiciary, if you ask me.
Okay. Sifuna, is the timing intentional so that possibly, because there has been a narrative that from the opposition, it is an intentional attack on either IEBC or the judiciary to delay the election?
Let me just say one thing as a lawyer, that the authority of the judiciary depends on public confidence in the judiciary. When you have a head of state issuing statements like he's doing, it actually undermines the confidence of the public so that somebody maybe who does not believe or belong to the opposition might feel that if they presented their case before these judges, that they would not get a fair judgment. That is exactly what we are condemning. Number two, we have known that there's going to be an election on the 8th for years. Immediately after we pass the 2010 Constitution, it is possible for you to tell with certainty on which date elections are going to fall for the next 100 years. Now, the blame must squarely fall on the IEBC because, Mike, we have had a procurement law in this country for over 10 years now. It has been on our books. And what is interesting is that IEBC fell into this same predicament the last election. And in fact, there are still senior members of the former IEBC Commission, including the CEO, who are still facing charges related to procurement in 2013. Now, they say even the village drunkard, you will fall into a hole once when you're coming home singing, but you cannot surely fall into that same hole twice. So they had all this time. A prudent IEBC would do what we call a flow chart of procurement to make sure that this is our Achilles heel, we will not fall into this trap again. You see, there is no quota or a number of times or a limit or a cap to the number of times you can defend the law. Every time there is wrongdoing, it doesn't matter if it is 2 days to the election, you have a responsibility as a citizen to stand up for the law. So this issue of the timing and the outrage should be directed at the IEBC, who knew from the start that we are going to have elections on the 8th. And by the way, nobody is saying the election is going to be postponed. It is very possible, and it is in recognition of that need that the court, in fact, limited its order only to publication of the ballot papers relating to the presidency. IEBC had already started printing the other ballot papers. So nobody here, in fact, we as Kenyans will not prolong this regime a day more. We want these elections today.
All right, let me hear from Ambrose whether what you have to say. Let's start first of all with the comments made by the president. You're a lawyer.
Yes.
So this coming from a head of state, by virtue of his position, is he eroding the confidence of Kenyans in the judiciary?
I think you must view the head of state first now as a candidate, and a formidable candidate who is leading. That is one. Against the very person he defeated in 2013. One, as a lawyer, I will tell you, the judiciary is supposed to be independent. But there is always the question of independence of thought. For instance, my thought as Weda is, on a scale of 1 to 10, leaning towards Jubilee. Just like my brother Sefuna here is heavily leaning on NASA. That is the independence of thought. Go back to the days of Mo. We used to have a permanent duty judge called Justice Nobari Dugdale. You would walk in and he would always give decisions in favor of the then Kanu regime. If you look at decisions that have been consistently against the IEBC, they have been done consistently from specific judges. So a chief justice can easily pick judges that he knows their thinking process. They are leaning. Let me finish, young man.
Very unfortunate.
Please, let me finish. Against thinking in a particular way, and then you give them the decision, and they give you the result. So you talk about independence, but then independence of thought is not there. Now let's look at it this way. What this decision here was a timid decision which was ridiculous. It is good, it is correct that there was no public participation, and therefore it should have been. But when they decide to say 90% of the very decision that was not subjected to public participation is good, allow the ballot papers to go on. But when it comes to the presidency, then they tell you that this one is bad. That is not only ridiculous. Are you in effect,
Weda, then suggesting
Yes.
that the judiciary is leaning towards the opposition? Is that what you're trying to say?
No. Saying the judiciary is wrong. There are specific judges that are leaning towards the opposition. There are others also who are leading towards government. So it's a question of whoever is selecting them to sit on a case.
So then
Besides, pick Weda here.
In that case, then we
here.
don't have a free judiciary.
See,
that's what you're saying.
Freedom per se, please, let me tell you. Freedom 100% is not there. Freedom will only be there when there's freedom of thought. I've told you, Sefuna here is purely NASA. Weda here is purely Jubilee. So when we are judges, and we are all capable of being judges, when we sit there presenting, we are independent. Independent. But when our decisions come, they are leaning towards where our hearts are.
You see, I cannot believe that my senior actually can make such a statement, and it is extremely unfortunate.
Out of experience.
Extremely unfortunate that it would come from him. Number one, you will remember that when we went to the High Court initially, we were denied an order staying the printing of the ballot papers relating to the other positions. We were denied that order. And it is in recognition of the fact that IEBC has stated publicly that for all other positions, printing has already begun, that the High Court has said that we don't need to interfere with that process because it will occasion a lot of losses for the taxpayer who has already engaged, who has already expended money on this particular thing. Number two, we have a system of courts, and Weda should know this, that there is a form of appeal. If indeed there are gatekeepers in the Judicial Review Division, those cases or those things can actually be subjected to appeal, as indeed the IEBC has threatened to do. And they have even lost on appeal. You remember the other case on declaration of results. They said the same thing. Are there gatekeepers for the opposition again in the Court of Appeal? If you have a problem with specific judges, and they are said it's specific judges of the Court of the High Court, what happened to the decision on the declaration of results at the polling station when it got to the Court of Appeal? And you have all the way to the Supreme Court. You have these avenues that are available for you. So it is quite ridiculous for anyone to sit here and claim that there are specific judges who are vanguards for the opposition. These people are vanguards for the law. And as I've said, Mike, the constitution we have is robust. Something like public participation is not a suggestion. under Article 10, this is a directive of the people of Kenya that any decision that you take has to be subjected to it. It's not a suggestion. So it is the Constitution beating back people like Weda, who believe that we can go back to a state where you can appoint judges in certain places to look out for your interests. It's ridiculous.
All right, can I comment as a layman? Because these guys are lawyers, they can be judges, and so on. You see, for us as lay people, when we look at judiciary, yes, we see the independence, and we can read the independence of particular judges. But you also know we live in a country where somebody once said, why hire a lawyer if you can buy a judge? Have you heard that? It is a statement that is coming, and you know, there has been cases where judges have been accused of being bribed with 200 million shillings in a briefcase. There has been instances that show that, yes, there is independence in judiciary, but there is also a conflict of interest within judiciary for particular individuals. So for us as laymen, they can argue all their legal language and whatever. What we want to see, as I said, is the spirit of the law and where we are doing, and that we are doing the things in the right way. All these other issues, they can do, I can argue in economics as well as they can argue in law. In law.
All right, Edwin Sifuna. Would we be burying our heads in the sand to think that the judiciary has no issues? I mean, we had the former Chief Justice come out and say there are even cartels within the judiciary, indicating that as much as they're independent,
yes,
there are also issues. And maybe these are issues that we would like to highlight, not bury our heads in the sand and think that maybe everything is hunky-dory and everything is okay.
You see, Mike, one thing that I will agree is that every institution would have issues. And indeed, you have cited yourself the example that the Chief Justice came out and said that the cartels that we thought we got rid of are still there. But we are talking about somebody crying. For instance, that particular incident that he quotes for the judge receiving allegedly 250 million. It went through the entire process, and an inquiry was formed, and there has never been anything that came out to suggest that the judge actually received the bribe. So if there is a specific incident, it goes through the particular process. But here somebody saying, he's sitting somewhere and whining and crying, saying, these people are beating us at too many cases. And I'm telling you, it is not that Orengo is a superhuman lawyer. No, it is the fact that he is on the side of the law. It is our constitution defending itself against people who don't believe in it, against people who never supported it from the start. You should put the blame squarely where it falls. And I've given you the example of procurement. How is it possible that IEBC, having fallen into this same pitfall in the 2013 election, knowing very well that you can predict the election date for the next 100 years based on the date that has been set in the document, how is it possible for you to fall into the same trap twice? It is deliberate, Mike. It is deliberate that somebody somewhere sits and sabotages the process of procurement, then imagines that because the time is so small, nobody will run to court, or that the court will be shy from saying that this is wrong. A wrong is a wrong, and to quote the words of the judge, in that particular case, Odunga, justice must be done if the sky may fall. I mean, we don't care about you telling us about time. You have had 4 years to prepare for the election. All right. You must do it right.
I think just the other day, the same opposition were blaming the Chief Justice being the other side, being pro-government, being government keeper. They almost hounded out the former Chief Justice because they lost the petition. But the reasoning in the decision was good. They dismissed almost everything. How you end up splitting the tendering process and the public participation,
it's
where
because
you say,
they had already started printing.
Listen, this is not.
Please don't mislead the public.
Where you make noise.
Don't mislead the public. You have a responsibility as a lawyer to tell the truth.
Please.
It is the fact that printing had already begun for those other positions.
All right, gentlemen, can we have one at a time? One at a time. Weda, please finish.
They reason and say there was no public participation, which is true. Then they look at it and they say, this ones we leave, but for the presidential one, we stop.
Why?
That kind of reasoning is timid and warped, and that's the part we are saying, are they afraid of elections? They should have stopped everything. They should have said, there was no public participation. We are saying, start afresh, because the heaven can come down. We don't care. But here, they care when the heaven comes down over the gubernatorial or whatever, or MCA or Mama, whatever. But when it comes to the president, heaven comes down. That kind of reasoning is wrong. But the way the independence does not add up, the judiciary is like a game of chess. It's like selecting a football team. When you want this kind of score, you select these strikers and this back, whatever, and this. So the Chief Justice can easily, from the pool he has, select specific judges. And when you see the decisions, they normally come from specific judges. And that is the goalkeeping. I am saying, as a very senior lawyer, that is wrong.
All right, Edwin Sifuna, as much as we may say that, yes, the president may be eroding the confidence of people in the judiciary, hasn't NASA done the same thing now in the IEBC? And just like you've said, whether it's 100 years from now, we can predict when the elections are going to come. Why weren't these things coming up earlier? Why wasn't some of these things raised earlier? And at what point do we now have NASA say that, yes, we have confidence in IEBC and let the elections continue?
Mike, I don't understand your question. You wanted us to raise the problem of Argurai printing. Just okay.
Let him answer. Edwin.
I wanted to ask you the question. No. You've asked me why were these issues not raised earlier. You wanted us to raise the question of Al Ghurail in 2014 when we did not know that Al Ghurail was going.
That is just one of them.
What else?
There's been the voter register, which NASA has come out and said that has not been done. There was the issue of KPMG coming in, and KPMG was given the responsibility.
Yes.
Now that KPMG has come out and given the numbers, NASA is quiet. Now, aren't you saying that those numbers are wrong?
We have said the numbers are wrong. We have said you cannot find that there is dead voters on the register and then not expunge them. So we had to make noise for these people to publish the register when it is in the law that you must publish the register. They have not even surrendered the report of KPMG to Parliament so that it can be assessed by the representatives of the people. I have told you, Mike, that there is no ceiling. There is no quota, that you can only complain 3 times, but that when somebody makes a mistake the 4th time, you have exhausted your quota. So now every single time that somebody assaults the Constitution, we in NASA are committed to stand up for it, and we don't care how many times you count. If it is wrong, it is wrong.
All right, so will there be a point where NASA will say, fine, IEBC is ready, or will that be now, because 8th is coming?
And you see, that is a problem, Mike. That is a problem, and we want you to move away from that mentality. It is not for NASA to say the IEBC is ready. It is for any reasonable person looking at the preparedness of the IEBC. It is the observers talking. It is the media, you guys, saying, truly looking at all the facts that have been presented, these guys cannot be ready for the election. It is not us to say but we are ready for the election.
Michael, NASA will never allow IEBC to be ready. If you can remember, we threw out the last team of commissioners, knowing very well that we were actually running short of time. And by the time these commissioners were coming in, we knew that they had actually to hit the ground running. And instead of facilitating them and making them move faster to ensure that decisions such as the one that he's talking about of procurement and whatever is done, we had instances where we had stop and go because of cases back and forth. You cannot expect IEBC to be moving and then you are pulling them backwards. NASA will never allow IEBC to do what they are supposed to do. Every time they want to move, there is something that is, they are spending time in court or they are spending time elsewhere. And these are guys who have not even spent about 6 months in office. We should actually congratulate them and facilitate them for the next 28 days.
Let me remind Mheshimiwa Nyoro of a simple fact. I remember when we were agitating for the removal of the then commissioners, one of the issues that we raised was that procurement in IEBC should stop at that particular point awaiting the new commissioners. And we were told that that is a process that is undertaken by who? By the Secretariat. Exactly, Mr. Nyoro. It has nothing to do. That is a statement that was put out by IEBC, and in fact, they said they are going to continue with the procurement process independent of whatever is going to happen with the commissioners. I mean, so those two are not even related to anything. We are saying they got the procurement process wrong, and when it went to court, they were told they got it wrong. Right. As against the law, not the NASA manifesto.
Allow me to say this. The procurement process was dragged in court by NASA so long that eventually it is the same court that allowed them to do direct procurement. Yeah. It is the same court that said it is now too late. NASA has taken you round and round. Now go and do direct procurement. And that was done. The part that I think IEBC did not do was to call NASA on a round table and tell them, now we want to give this. Do you accept? Because it appears NASA itself does not want elections on the 8th of August. And even if the elections were to happen, they are preparing ground to say, we lost because IEBC was not with us. That is not fair to Kenyans. You cannot complain at every bend. Nothing, they have never for one day said, NASA has never for one day said, this one IEBC has done well. Nothing. Right. Name one thing where they congratulate them. Say, here we congratulate you have done.
And again, it's not the responsibility of NASA to congratulate or tell them that they've done well.
But let them do their work.
The responsibility of IEBC
and they don't depend on
that they have no questions that can be raised.
But allow them also to do their work.
Thank you.
Let me take a call here from Caleb in Kitale. Good morning, Caleb. Thank you for calling. To your question or comment.
Morning, Mike.
Good morning.
Yes, I would like to raise two points. The first one is that there are two narratives from the Jubilee side. The first narrative is about NASA trying to on the 8th.
Trying to?
Okay. Jubilee side has been advancing an idea that NASA is
trying to delay,
to stop the election to be held on the 8th of August.
Okay.
That narrative has been in the works for some time. It's been in the media for some time. Now, I will be interested to know what the panelists think about specific that narrative and where it came from. Now, the second thing is about what came out yesterday. When the president and the deputy came out strongly and said that the judiciary is not independent, it's leaning towards NASA. Then secondly, we come to realize that it's a new narrative now that has been come up. We want to be concerned as voters whether the president will and his supporters will get to a point where we will independentness or the decisions made by the court, or they will disregard the court despite the fact that we all are looking at it as the independent arbitrator. So, and then there comes in the IEBC. Now, IEBC, when we guys who are out here, who are not leaning on either NASA or Jubilee, look at IEBC, we can always look at these complaints coming from NASA all the time. And whenever they go to court, the courts have never ruled in favor of NASA 100%. They've always given like 20 or 30%. And then the other one has been dismissed. So even if it's the printing of the paper, we saw only one point. The rest were dismissed. So we're trying to look at how independent is independent in the two, the court and the IEBC.
All right.
We will ask the panelists to look at them.
All right, Caleb, I think I'll have to cut you short there. I think we've got your point. Thank you very much. Let me take another call from Mark Oyamo in Narok. Good morning, Mark. To your comment, please.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm very proud to talk to you live.
All right, go ahead, please.
Okay, my comment goes to Excellency the President. It's so unfortunate that he's putting pressure on the courts. I think the courts should be independent, whereby the decision they comes upon should be agreed on.
Okay.
Okay. So my question is, I don't know where it was stated that the opposition NASA is fighting against the change of the election date. I don't know where it was stated because the main content here, the subtopic here is about the election dates to be changed.
Okay.
Which I don't agree upon.
All right, thank you.
The issue is not about the cancellation of the Al Ghurair tender, but I think the topic here is about the date of the election to be changed. I don't know where it was stated by the opposition of the NASA. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mark. Let's now move on to Steve Omwanza, who's calling from Busia. Good morning, Steve. Thank you for calling from Busia. And to your comment or question?
I have a comment. Mike, I want to say this, first of all. Unajua sisi tukiangalia maneno ya koti vile imeanza kukua koti, mimi nafikiri kesi ikienda kotini huwa inakatwa kesi kulingana na vile kesi yenyewe imenini. Ukiangalia kama sasa hivi Sifuna have told you right now. Hii kitu procurement tunasema ama public participation haikufanyika. Imeenda kotini, unapata NASA inatetea pande yake. Na hii pande yake sasa tunajiuliza sisi tukiwa tunaangalia hapa. tuamini koti ama tujue koti iko na cartels, wanakata kesi vile wanataka, kwa sababu sisi tukiangalia hao ndio viongozi wetu. Tunataka tuamini kulingana na kitu vinafanya kotini, lakini kufikia sasa sisi tumeshindwa kuelewa. Hata sasa ukiuliza mwananchi nini inaendelea kotini, hatuelewi. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Steve Mwanza from Busia. Millicent in Eldoret, before we come back to the panel. Millicent, thank you for calling from Eldoret. To your question or comment.
Hello?
Yes, Millicent.
Ndio nataka nichangie yenye inaendelea kwa TV.
Endelea.
Sasa nasema kuhusu ile story ya Judiciary. Sasa Judiciary kama hao watu wa baby, ukiona kwa ukweli wanabeba side moja. Kama story ya mafutani. Hiyo time hawakubeba wenye wako wagonjwa, wanabeba tu madaktari na wanalalia side moja.
All right, Millicent, unfortunately, sikusikii vizuri sana. Maybe when we get a clearer call, we'll be able to take that. But the quality of the call is not that good. I'm not able to tell what you're saying. But let me come back to the panel. And several callers there, of course, raising concerns regarding, first of all, the judiciary and the fact that they view the president's comments being unfortunate because it is somehow eroding confidence of the people. Dr. Nyoro.
Well, I think for me, as I said before, the president is expressing a concern. And I don't know why all this time, Michael and Sifuna, my friend here, has not commented on the earlier statement by the Chief Justice. And I've said it 3 times. The Chief Justice had said, we'll be very, very, very careful on making decisions that may disrupt the election on 8th. The president is following more or less what the Chief Justice was saying. I don't know why you think one statement being made by the Chief Justice is okay, but if it is repeated by the president, it's wrong. I don't see it at all. The president is expressing a concern, and I'm telling you, I am a candidate. I've spent money over the last 3-4 months. What I want is to be assured, and I told Sifuna as we are coming in, please, if you go and print those papers, go print them and bring, because I want this election to head on 8th. We want to throw them out, but the narrative is that the narrative is that these guys are creating a sequence of events so that even when they are thrown out, they'll come back and say, no, the judges did this, we did this, and so on. So I think for me, and you need to tell me, because the same statement was made by the Chief Justice and made by the President, why is it wrong if the President says what the Chief Justice had said?
Let me come to you, Edwin Sifuna. And the truth of the matter is the President is a politician and his seat is a political seat. So he is allowed to make a statement when he is concerned. Secondly, if he sat back and the judiciary was not doing their work, you'd be the same people who'd come out and say, he is the CEO, the buck stops with the President. So for him to air his concern is purely within his jurisdiction.
No, first of all, you must understand, and let me say this to Mheshimiwa Nyoro. I went to Deliverance Church Umoja Sunday ago, and the bishop there was very clear that we should not do anything, according to the Bible, to prolong our slavery or suffering.
Yes.
Nobody is interested in giving Uhuru Kenyatta a single hour more than the midnight of 8th of August. And when he talks about throwing us out of where? We are not anywhere to be thrown out of.
Keeping you out.
You are the ones we are going to throw out. Number 2, if you look at the office of a president, he's not just a politician. And I was absolutely surprised that Mr. Weda would first describe the president of the republic as a politician. He holds a very, very key position. That him, as a head of state, is supposed to be a symbol of unity. He's supposed to be the #1 defender of the Constitution of Kenya.
That is a political
This is what you need to understand, Mike. The Constitution says it places upon him the responsibility, and that is why when he takes the oath of office, what does he say? Does he say that at moments when I'm the politician, I will issue statements from time to time? No. It says he will uphold the law and defend the law. So if you understand your mandate as a president, you should know that the Constitution has created 3 arms of government and that those arms of government are independent and that you issuing threats, effectively, it is a threat to an arm of government, to the judiciary. When you say, musifikirie ni uoga, so tukitoa hiyo uoga utafanya nini? What are you going to do to the judges? This is not 1990 Kanu, when you can visit the judges at their homes. Who is it threatening? We know that the Constitution is there to defend all of us.
Is that really a threat, or
it is a threat?
Is it just a statement saying
that
the fact that we are quiet does not necessarily mean...
So who said they were afraid? Afraid of what? To do what? He's not going to do anything to the judges.
Ambrose Weda, and I want us to move the conversation.
The truth is this. NASA has hijacked a section of the judiciary. Some judges who are known to be making certain decisions, however wrong they are, like splitting public participation quarter, 3 quarters. That is wrong. I think the president was just alarmed because the way these people are going, they could easily, through an application by NASA or their cahoots, say that we are staying the process of preparation for election for August 8th, and therefore, until the case is determined. And then we will say, honor the decision. So the president's main message was, do not do things that jeopardizes the 8th of August. If nobody is doing that, they should not worry about the president is complaining about. They should go ahead. But if somebody is preparing that if he's going to lose, then they are going to postpone elections and then cause a constitutional crisis and share half a loaf of bread, that is the part the president is saying no. And you know he's leading and he is bound to be re-elected again. And that may be the source of worry. The judiciary, we are not, I don't agree with my brother Nyoro that they are corrupt. They are not corrupt. It is only that some people are leaning. Just like my brother here is leaning in NASA. If you made him a judge, and he can be a very good judge, but when you bring NASA things, he will always bring a windy decision regarding NASA. This is the part that is jeopardizing the August 8th. And let us be careful because it can hurt the country.
All right, let me come back to you.
I didn't say they were corrupt, but you know of that statement of why hire a judge if you can buy, why hire a lawyer
when you can buy a judge. Let me come back. I want us to change a little bit here and look at the IEBC. And let me start with you, Edwin Sifuna. Given that now IEBC has been beaten and battered, and the 8th is only, 28 days to go, is there a point that NASA would get and say, okay, now we are confident that we're going to have a free and fair election? Because if that does not happen, then really, what is the point of going for the elections when, if, of course, NASA, if whoever loses will come out and say, we told you?
You know, what you call beating and battering is for us guiding these people to follow the law so that you don't have to ask me that question, so that anyone looking at the preparedness of IEBC can say, these people are ready. So all the times that we, you know, even the Lord chastises those whom he loves. We love these people who are, in charge of our elections. Just a minute.
No, you went to church,
we were made in his image. I mean, we are a reflection of the Lord. So every time that we bring these issues up, it is for the good of a country. It is not that anybody wants to chastise unnecessarily the IEBC or to bring pressure upon them, but that we must always remind them that it is extremely important for them to get to a place where everybody says there is confidence. Now, for instance, why do they require public pressure for them to publish the register? Why did they require public pressure? We were against the KPMG audit, and you can see that the KPMG audit was a waste of money. It was a waste of public money, that nothing has come out of that particular process. So after you told us that X number of people are dead on the voters list, and then Chebukati stands and says, yes, they will remain on the register, but they will not vote. That was not the purpose of the audit. The audit was supposed to result in a clean register. So do we have a clean register? No. Should we keep quiet because we have also raised other questions
So the question
before?
here is, Edwin, is there anything that IEBC will do for them? What's the way forward? Because where we are right now, it looks like, according to you, there'll not be,
no, the way forward,
a fair arbiter.
The way forward, the way forward is very simple. And I'm happy that they have seen the light. They have called every person who's involved in this particular election for a meeting this morning so that we can agree on a way forward. It is not that we don't want the election. It is that the election must be done in a proper manner so that these questions are not raised. It is better to raise them prior to the election than after the election. That is the way that we view it.
Okay, Dr. Nyoro?
You see, for me, I'm very happy that there's going to be that meeting today. I'm almost sure that there is not going to be any consensus in the meeting today. Like I said yesterday in another channel, I said we as Kenyans will be watching to see white smoke.
So you don't expect that there's going to be...
I am hoping that there's going to be white smoke because for heaven's sake, we want to see the next 28 days IEBC concentrating on those ballots, when they will be delivered, when they will be distributed. Now, if the meeting today does not come with a white smoke and there is consensus, then we can only wait for the appeal. Now, the appeal will take time. Even when the appeal is done and you appoint some other companies, there's still going to be another company going to court to say, why was I left out? We don't have that time. We don't have the 28 days. So we are at a very, very critical period. And I would really, just like he's quoting Bible, let's come together, let's reason together.
Which
as Kenyans.
that?
It's in Ecclesiastes. Come let us reason together. All right. He started. No, he does say, come let us reason together.
Now, I expect the meeting today. If I was in the IEBC, I would have simply said the presidential ballot, we have 1 or 2, 3 companies, let us agree on one, and then they give it. I know within the 29 days remaining, printing the presidential ballots, it's not a big task. 1, 2 weeks, it will be done. I also pray that from there, they will agree that NASA and their judges will not then sneak in another temporary order, so that we go for this election. The interest of the country is bigger. I think IEBC, the new people are coping well with the battery of cases. They are coping well, taking into account that the fact that they are new. And they have been hit. Now they were hit by NASA towards Smithscreen. Now the president has also come in. Now I sympathize with them. But I offer them my prayers. I say, please stand strong so that you can do these elections and we have a better country.
All right, Edwin Sifuna, your closing comments as we wind up the waiters.
I would be remiss if I did not take this opportunity to also condole with the family of the late Joseph Nkaiseri. And to just reiterate that whereas we in the opposition might have had differences of opinion with him regarding the manner in which he went about his job at the Ministry of Interior, we do not wish any of our opponents ill. We do not wish them to die or to, we would like for us to go into Canaan together, including my brother here.
Canaan ya Changa?
Changa is already legal in this country. I don't know why you're
Let's not go there. Those are closing comments. Dr. Nyoro, your closing comments.
I want to share the same sentiment of, sending my condolences to the family of Kaiseri and say Kenya should not speculate. I think we have 28 days, very, very, very critical days. Let's maintain peace. I think we need this country even after the 8th. All of us, NASA, whoever else, I think let's maintain peace. And all of these things are probably to show that we can be a united country after 8th.
Thank you very much. And that's where we'll have to wind up the waiters this morning. Thank you very much, Ambrose Weda, who is a lawyer. We also have Edwin Sifuna, who is a senatorial ODM candidate for Nairobi Senator seat. Thank you for joining us. And last but not least, Dr. James Nyoro, who is the running mate for Ferdinand Waitito for Kiambu gubernatorial seat. That's the way it is. And we'll take a short break. When we come back, we've got some news updates. And also, we'll be reading through your comments that were coming through as we continue with the show. We'll be right back.
This is KTN News.
But I take this opportunity to inform our Kenyans that there shall be no vacuum in securing